I don't know about you guys, but anytime we get new prints of games for retro consoles, my attention is automatically piqued. For example, when Square Enix was selling brand new copies of PS1 games well into the 2020s, buying a copy for myself was a decision I made pretty much without hesitation. But this video isn't about the PS1, this is about these all new games which just released for the Nintendo 64, a console which saw its last officially licensed game come out all the way back in August 2002. Coinciding with the release of their FPGA-based M64 system, the folks over at Mod Retro are out with 4 new cartridge releases. Some of these games have been released for the N64 already, and some are original independent works meant for the hardware. And the best part, there's no hoops to jump through, no pre-orders or wait times. You can just order them online or walk into any old GameStop store and just buy these, albeit at a rather steep asking price of $49.99 each. So the question remains, are these games worth playing and are they worth that price tag? Well, to find the answers, I bought 2 of the 4, Xiabalba 64 from Phobos Lab and Bumble from Orgonaut. I figured 1 original and 1 re-release. But I'll also be touching on the other 2 games as well, so stick around. What's up everyone, my name is Evan, welcome back to the evilslaw channel. Let's dive into a look at these brand new N64 games in 2026. Real quick, before I get into things, a few notes. Number 1, Mod Retro as a topic could be divisive, and I acknowledge. Number 2, I'm really not trying to wade into the M64 versus analog 3D versus original hardware debate. I understand people are trying to make purchasing decisions, absolutely, but that's not the purchasing decision that I'm trying to weigh in on. I bought these games with my own money, and this certainly isn't sponsored. So for this video, I'll be using an analog 3D to play these games because it's the piece of hardware I own to play N64. These games work fine in either clone console or original hardware, so whichever side you take, you won't have an issue. But with that, let's actually look at the games now, starting with Xiabalba 64. The first thing you'll probably notice here is the box design itself. The dimensions don't quite match up to original American N64 boxes, but it's close. There's no attempt to imitate the original template. Unlike some similar efforts we've seen from companies like Limited Run in the past, this is a completely unique box design to Mod Retro. I don't mind it. I think they look sleek overall, though nothing about them scream N64 to me. If anything, it looks a lot like what Super Deluxe is doing with their modern box designs over in Japan. Whether or not you think this design fits the bill is a matter of preference, but I think they're okay. The front has this glossy sheen to it which accentuates the key art, and the backside does a good job of trying to sell you the game. Considering some games these days don't even attempt to do this, I can appreciate the effort. One problem, however, is the fact that you're gonna have to jump through some extra hoops if you want to get box protectors for these. Just recently, I was introduced to a website called Katana Collectibles after I stumbled upon, no joke, a complete in-box Fallout at a thrift store for $20, and this company helped me get a box protector for them, so I can vouch. They specialize in custom box protectors, and there's already templates made for these M64 boxes, and they're $4.99 plus shipping. Opening this box up, you'll find a tray with a shrink-wrapped cartridge and a manual. It's kind of interesting since the outer box isn't shrink-wrapped. I don't know, I thought that was a point of note. And the instruction manual is a bit smaller than a regular N64 one, but it's in full color, and some of them have a notes section, so that's a pass for me. This cartridge for Xiabalba is a nice matte black. One thing about these carts though is that they are NTSC only, so don't try to use these on any PAL N64 systems. Unfortunately, it's not going to work. And a lot of the same can be said for Bumble here. I like that the key art echoes the original Japanese cover for the game, and the cartridge is a fitting shade of yellow. Here's how the back looks. And unfortunately, my copy seems to have gotten the box opener, but that's not on Mod Retro, that's on GameStop. Mod Retro is also making some pretty big claims when it comes to these cartridges and the components used to make them.
Just like we did with the Chromatic, we had to figure out how to manufacture cartridges that would last not just for years, but decades or even centuries. What we've done with our cartridges is make them out of materials that last for a very long time, from the labels to the plastics to even the components of the interior boards themselves. No electrolytic capacitors, no batteries, no components that can go bad or destroy the cartridge over time. As far as we know, this is the highest quality Nintendo 64 cartridge that has ever been built.
Cartridges that can last up to a century is a big claim, but if quality parts are the reason for the slightly elevated price tag on these games, in my opinion, I feel like that's a bit of a fair trade-off. But moving into the games themselves, we'll start with Xiabalba 64, since it's the only new original-ish game of the bunch. I give it that ish title because Xiabalba actually started its life as a browser game released in 2014. This 64 version is an expanded iteration with new levels, weapons, and extensive multiplayer options. Per the developer's own words, it's basically a brand new game. As you can see, Xiabalba is a first-person boomer shooter similar to the likes of Wolfenstein 3D and Doom. more so Wolfenstein, since there's no verticality at all here. This is a boomer shooter for boomer shooter fans, and it sticks pretty close to the absolute basics of the genre. Each level is a flat maze where you need to kill enemies and survive and get to the exit. You may need to find a couple keys along the way, and you'll find new weapons to help you through this jungle of lush greens and cold steel facilities. Gameplay-wise, Xiabalba is a fairly bare-bones FPS, and you can't even sprint, but the core gameplay loop is still fun enough, and there's nothing that feels bad or poorly made. The game controls fine, and this pixel art style really pops in my opinion. Some may argue that it doesn't fit the N64's typical graphical style, but there's a toggle in the options for texture filtering, which matches that N64 smear a bit more effectively. I toggled it on and off during my time playing, so you'll see a bit of both mixed around in this footage. On that note, though, I think that the environmental design in Xiabalba far outclasses the stage design, presenting interesting moments of environmental storytelling which pairs well with the game's effective use of different colored lighting sectors and ambient sound. On the performance end, I didn't notice any problems. Xiabalba runs very well. I got a smooth 60 frames in both single player and the various split screen modes, and all of this was while my analog 3D was forcing original hardware. I didn't bother turning it off because I didn't need to. This doesn't need overclocking. I don't think Xiabalba 64 is a better game than GoldenEye or Turok or even Doom 64, but I did enjoy my time playing it. The campaign is rather short, but there's a number of secrets to find, and the multiplayer options include 2-player co-op, 4-person deathmatch, and an infestation horde mode. Yet, it's still hard to shake the feeling that this would be otherwise a $15 eShop game, but here it's smacked onto an N64 cartridge at a premium price. To be clear, I like Xiabalba 64. It's a well-made FPS, and I think it's worth playing. I didn't want to put it down when I was recording gameplay, but the value proposition here isn't great. And while I'm not as averse to spending $50 on a 2 to 4 hour game, I'm sure some others are, so do with that information as you will. Buck Bumble is a really good song on a cartridge that also comes with a game.
What about now? It's time to rock with the biggity buck. Bumble, bumble, bum to the bum to the bum to the bass, bum to the bum to the bumble.
Originally released in 1998, Buck Bumble was developed by Argonaut Games, the same people who made Star Fox, Croc, and that Harry Potter game that somehow sold 8 million copies. Buck Bumble was the only N64 game the company would ever make, and thanks to Argonaut's relaunch a few years ago, we have a fresh new printing of Buck Bumble that you can buy with ease. I'm not sure if I'd call the game an air combat game or a third-person shooter exactly, but it looks like this, and it's a B-grade title from the era.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
I'm not going to go into any crazy deep review here, but it's a pretty fun time. Each level sees you flying around, defeating these chemically altered insects and completing various objectives. In the first level, you have to defeat all the enemies. In the second, you take out these radar dishes. And in the third level, you have to defuse a nuclear device, and I'm being completely serious. That is what the game just told me. I think this game is pretty dumb fun. Certainly not a masterpiece, but it's freaking Buck Bumble. People often point to the controls as being really bad, but I'm just not there on that point. Other games on this console are way worse. I think this game controls fine, and you can easily have a good time with it. As for this new release, the game is a straight conversion of the original, with Mod Retro just adding some new copyright text and this M64 logo when you start it up. On original hardware and in said original hardware mode, the game doesn't run great, but throw on some overclocking and it's much smoother to play. I did experience one crash during my time, however, it appears to have been an isolated incident since I had to restart a level and once I beat it again, it worked just fine. If Buck Bumble has evaded you until now, this is a new way to get it. Just don't expect any crazy improvements or anything. This is exactly what it's advertised as, and I think that's fine. Those are the games I actually bought, but as mentioned before, there's 2 others which released with the N64. One of those is Extreme G Turbo Fusion, a collection of both Extreme G games released in 1997 and 1998 respectively. They're futuristic racing games which people look back on rather fondly, similar to like an F-Zero type, but Turbo Fusion is a collection in the most barren sense, with a single menu allowing you to select your game of choice, then it just boots into that original game with, again, minimal changes. As far as I understand, these are direct re-releases, though playing them with modern overclocking features will certainly change your experience quite a bit versus original hardware. The main problem with Turbo Fusion is, again, the value proposition. Original cartridges of both of the Extreme G games are very cheap. They're not even close to $50 combined. But if it's any consolation, Turbo Fusion is probably the best looking cartridge of the bunch, in my opinion. The other game on offer is Bitmap Bureau's Xenocrisis, a top-down shooter similar to Smash TV. It's the comparison everyone uses with this game, but come on, they look almost exactly the same. I like that Xenocrisis features definitely not Jill Valentine in the game, but I think this game's shtick of being ported to every console under the sun is starting to run a bit dry. Love it or hate it, $50 for Xenocrisis is just a bad buy, especially when it's a twin-stick shooter for a console with one analog stick. It's not bad, I'm not saying that at all, but it's easily the worst value out of these 4 releases. So, overall, do I think these new Mod Retro N64 games are worth buying? It depends. Xiabalba, Xenocrisis, and Extreme G are all just not the best values. You can play these games somewhere else for less, or in Xiabalba's case, it's a good game, but $50 good is questionable. I think it's going to be really important to do your due diligence if you're looking at these games now and going forward. Mod Retro will assuredly be releasing more carts in the future, and while these are all good games, I could see why somebody may have buyer's remorse for picking them up. The one exception, which does give me some hope though, is Bumble. This is a great value, simply because original carts sell for over $50 on eBay anyway, so picking up this new copy is a solid option for somebody who just want to rock with the bickety buck Bumble. Oh my god, I cannot believe I just said that. I don't think the answer is a clear-cut yay or nay on these ones, but do your own research and come to your own conclusions before you buy. All that said though, I do like the prospects of this new N64 line should Mod Retro go all in on it. And if we see an ongoing mix of indie games and classic reprints similar to what we are seeing with this first wave of games, I think it could be something really cool. Imagine if we got a reprint of Clay Fighter Sculptor's Cut, or if indie titles like the recently announced Panic 64 got the chance to have dedicated physical ports to the console they were inspired by. If that's the future we end up getting, I could buy in on that. I'm buying in on that idea, but let me know what you guys think. It's at this point I want to turn the video over to you in the conversation, over to the comment section. What do you think of these new games? Are you picking any of them up? Do you think these M64 games are really worth adding to your collection, or are you just sticking to classic games and classic hardware? Let me know down in the comments, and I want to say thank you for watching this video. Thank you guys so much for 10,000 subscribers. I cannot believe that. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace out, everyone.